For over 4,000 years, the pyramids of Giza have stood as eternal sentinels of time, watching empires rise and crumble, civilizations vanish, and humanity forget its own origins. They pierce the horizon like colossal enigmas carved in stone, their perfection so exact, their purpose so mysterious, that they have defied every explanation that modern science has tried to impose upon them. Who truly built these monuments that have endured the storms of time? Were they the labor of thousands of slaves under Pharaoh Khufu, or could they be the legacy of a lost civilization, guided by knowledge beyond our comprehension? In the shimmering heat of the Egyptian desert, the Great Pyramid stands taller than reason, each stone weighing up to 80 tons, stacked with a precision that modern engineers struggle to replicate. Even with today's technology, cranes, and laser-guided measurements, building a structure like this with such accuracy seems nearly impossible. Yet, over 4,500 years ago, it was done. Archaeologists tell us that human hands, primitive tools, and endless labor built it. But is that the whole story? Or is there something more? Something ancient, hidden beneath the sand and within the very geometry of the stones? The ancient Egyptians claimed their knowledge came from the gods, beings who descended from the stars and taught humanity how to live, build, and understand the universe. They called them the Neteru. To modern eyes, they were myth, but to the ancients, they were real. Teachers from beyond the sky, with the power to move the heavens and reshape the earth. Could these gods have been ancient aliens, advanced beings visiting Earth long before recorded history began? Or were they perhaps advanced humans, survivors of a forgotten age, whose technology and wisdom vanished in cataclysm? The sands of Egypt do not answer, but they whisper. When explorers first entered the Great Pyramid, they were stunned. No hieroglyphs covered the walls, no pharaoh's name adorned the chambers, no treasures lay waiting within. It was as if the pyramid wasn't a tomb at all, but a machine. Some researchers now believe the Great Pyramid wasn't built to house the dead, but to generate energy. A structure designed not for worship, but for power. The shape of the pyramid, the materials used, limestone casing, granite core, hidden shafts aligned with celestial constellations, all hint at an intelligence that understood both earthly resonance and cosmic alignment. Was it a power plant, a communication device, or something beyond our imagination, a relic of a civilization that merged spirituality and science into one? The pyramids of Giza are not randomly placed. Their layout mirrors the stars in the Orion Belt, perfectly aligned not only to each other, but to the heavens themselves. At the moment of their construction, the position of Orion's belt in the sky would have matched the arrangement of the three pyramids on Earth. Coincidence or cosmic blueprint? If this were mere symbolism, how could they achieve such astronomical precision without telescopes? Why does every measurement in the Great Pyramid, its height, base, angle, encode numbers that correspond to the Earth's radius, the speed of light, and even the golden ratio? The ancient builders clearly knew something. But who were they? Legends from across the world tell of beings who descended from the heavens, beings who brought knowledge, architecture, and the spark of civilization. The Sumerians called them the Anunnaki, the Egyptians the Neteru. The Mayans spoke of sky teachers who arrived on shining discs. Could these all describe the same visitors, the same gods, witnessed through the eyes of different cultures? If so, then the pyramids of Giza are not just Egyptian monuments. They are messages. Messages from an age when humanity and these beings worked side by side. But as with all great mysteries, history buried the truth. What remained was a rewritten story, one that credits kings and slaves, chisels and ropes. Yet, the deeper we dig, the less that story holds. The quarries from which the stones were supposedly cut lie miles away. The ramps that engineers propose would have required more material than the pyramid itself. And the manpower? Estimates vary wildly, from 20,000 to 100,000 workers. But no traces of a labor camp of that size have ever been found near Giza. So how then was it built? Imagine this: a civilization not primitive, but advanced, with knowledge of magnetism, vibration, sound frequency, and levitation. A civilization that understood how to use the Earth's natural energy lines, ley lines, and channel them through structures of stone and geometry. They didn't lift stones, they moved them by manipulating resonance and gravity itself. This idea, once dismissed as fantasy, is now being revisited by physicists and alternative researchers. The ancient world might not have been the dawn of technology. It could have been the aftermath of something much greater, something lost. From Unveil Archive, we look not to prove aliens or disprove history, but to ask the question that has haunted humanity for millennia. Who were we before we forgot who we are? The evidence buried beneath the desert sands may hold the answer, not in artifacts, but in patterns, geometry, numbers, energy, and design. These things transcend time, culture, and even language. They point to a shared knowledge, one that existed before the flood, before Egypt, before written history itself. The great philosopher Plato spoke of Atlantis, a mighty empire that fell beneath the waves. He said its people were masters of both spirit and science, and that they built monuments to preserve their knowledge for the future. Could the pyramids be remnants of that lost world? If so, Egypt was not the beginning of civilization, it was its inheritance. Imagine survivors of a cataclysm, wandering across a shattered earth. They bring memory, wisdom, and sacred geometry. They settle by the Nile, where the river mirrors the Milky Way, and there they rebuild, not from scratch, but from remembrance. Each block of the Great Pyramid, then, is more than stone. It's a word in a language of energy and proportion, a message meant not for their time, but for ours. A reminder that humanity once reached for the stars, not to conquer them, but to understand them. And perhaps, when we stand before these colossal monuments and feel that strange pull of awe and silence, we are not just visitors of the past. We are witnesses of something that refuses to die, a whisper from a time when the gods still walked among men. In the next chapter, we go deeper, beyond the sands of Egypt and into the forbidden theories of those who claim to have uncovered the lost technology of the ancients. Technology that may not have been alien, but human, far older, far greater, and far more advanced than we dare to imagine. Stay tuned. This is Unveil Archive, where ancient mysteries come to light. Beneath the golden sands of Egypt lies more than the bones of kings. There are traces, small, subtle, and persistent, of something far greater, a civilization that possessed knowledge modern science has only begun to rediscover. They left behind symbols, geometry, and stone that hum like the echoes of a forgotten science. A science that was not about circuits or metal, but vibration, light, and sound. When we speak of technology today, we imagine machines, engines, and computers. But the ancients may have known another kind of technology, one rooted in nature itself. They understood the frequencies of the earth, the resonance of the stars, and the harmonic relationships that bind all things together. It was a science that united physics and spirituality, turning temples into instruments and monuments into energy systems. Look closely at the Great Pyramid of Giza, and you'll see this pattern unfold. The structure isn't random. It's precise to a degree that defies coincidence. The angles of its sides, 51 degrees, 51 minutes, are aligned perfectly to true north, more accurately than any modern building until the late 20th century. The ratio between its height and base equals the value of pi. The distance from the Earth to the Sun divided by the pyramid's height equals the same ratio. Coincidence or cosmic design? But the mystery deepens when we study the materials. The Great Pyramid isn't made of just any stone. The outer casing was once polished white limestone, which reflected sunlight like a mirror. Beneath it, the inner structure is composed of granite, rich in quartz and crystal. These are the same materials used today in energy storage and frequency transmission devices. Quartz, under pressure, produces electricity through the piezoelectric effect. Could the builders have known this? Could the pyramid have been designed to harness the natural energy of the Earth itself? The placement of the pyramid on the Giza plateau adds to the enigma. It sits atop intersecting lines of geomagnetic force, known as ley lines, energetic currents that ancient civilizations across the world built their temples upon. The same concept appears in Stonehenge, Machu Picchu, and the temples of Angkor Wat. Across thousands of miles and thousands of years, humans seem to follow the same invisible blueprint. How could they have known? Some researchers propose that the ancients understood the Earth as a living organism, a vast conductor of energy. They could detect vibrations and magnetic currents, possibly through natural sensitivity or devices we no longer understand. They didn't fight nature, they worked with it. The Great Pyramid, in this view, was not a tomb, but a resonant structure, a global tuning fork that harmonized with the planet's frequency. Inside the pyramid, this theory begins to make eerie sense. The king's chamber, made entirely of granite, resonates at 440 Hz, the same frequency used in modern music tuning. The narrow shafts leading outward are precisely angled towards specific stars, like Sirius and Orion's belt. When sound waves bounce inside the chamber, they amplify, creating vibrations that seem almost otherworldly. Some claim that standing within it induces altered states of consciousness, even visions. Could it be that the ancients used sound as a form of energy, an ancient science of vibration, what Nikola Tesla once called the secret to understanding the universe? Sound, frequency, and resonance. These are the keys that might explain the construction of the pyramids themselves. Imagine thousands of stone blocks, each weighing tens of tons, being moved not by brute strength, but by harmonic manipulation. The ancients may have discovered that when sound reaches a specific frequency, it can cancel gravity's pull. Experiments by modern scientists have shown that sound can levitate small objects, grain, water, even pebbles. Scale that technology up, and suddenly, the impossible becomes possible. Across the world, other ancient sites show evidence of this lost knowledge. In Peru, the massive walls of Sacsayhuaman are fitted so precisely that not even a blade of grass can pass between the stones. In Lebanon, the stones of Baalbek weigh over 1,000 tons each, yet were somehow lifted and stacked without cranes. On Easter Island, statues weighing hundreds of tons were transported miles without wheels or beasts of burden. Everywhere, the same signature: impossible precision, unknown methods, lost technology. Could all of these civilizations have inherited their knowledge from a single advanced source? A mother civilization that predated them all? Plato's tale of Atlantis is not alone. Ancient records from Egypt speak of the Zep Tepi, the first time when gods ruled on earth and civilization flourished. The Mayans spoke of an age when sky beings taught humanity the secrets of creation. The Hindu Vedas describe Vimanas, flying ships powered by sound and mercury. Myths separated by continents, yet united by a shared memory of a forgotten golden age. Perhaps the question is not, did aliens build the pyramids, but who were these ancient humans and what did they know? Imagine an age before recorded history, when humanity reached heights we can barely comprehend, an age that ended in catastrophe, a global flood, a pole shift, a comet strike. Whatever it was, it erased nearly everything, but not completely. Survivors carried fragments of knowledge, the laws of vibration, geometry, and energy, and rebuilt what they could. Egypt, in this story, was not the first civilization. It was the second. The ancients encoded their knowledge in stone because they knew stone would endure. Unlike scrolls or metal, it cannot burn or rust. It can only be buried and eventually found. The pyramids, then, are not monuments to the dead. They are messages to the future. A warning, perhaps, or a reminder that power without wisdom leads to ruin. But there's more. Hidden deep within the Great Pyramid is a secret chamber that modern technology only recently discovered. Using cosmic ray scans, scientists detected a vast void above the Grand Gallery, an empty space sealed for millennia. No one knows what lies within. Some believe it's another burial chamber. Others suspect it holds something more, a machine or even a message. What if this chamber contains proof that the ancients possessed advanced technology, a crystal device, a metallic structure, or an artifact that would rewrite human history? Could this be the missing link between myth and fact? Governments remain silent. Archaeologists dismiss the idea as speculation, but secrecy surrounds Giza like the desert wind. Access to the deepest tunnels is restricted. Foreign researchers have been denied entry, and whispers speak of discoveries quietly removed before the public could see. What could be so powerful, so paradigm-shifting, that it must remain hidden? Perhaps the answer lies not just beneath the sand, but within ourselves. For the ancients may not have used technology the way we do. Their machines were not separate from their minds. They were extensions of consciousness itself. The act of creation was sacred, driven by intention, sound, and energy. They did not worship gods, they became co-creators with them. This idea echoes in every culture. In the temples of India, mantras were said to move mountains. In Tibet, monks used chants to lift stones. In Egypt, Priests used sound to awaken the Ka, the life force within all things. The ancients knew that thought and vibration are one, that to understand energy is to understand creation itself. Modern science, too, edges toward this truth. Quantum physics tells us that the universe is vibration, particles behaving as waves, energy shaping matter through observation. What the ancients intuited through spirituality, we are only now rediscovering through mathematics. So, perhaps the real lost technology wasn't mechanical. It was spiritual. A mastery of frequency, geometry, and intention so profound that it blurred the line between magic and science. The pyramids of Giza may stand as the ultimate symbol of that fusion. Geometry so perfect, it resonates with the frequencies of the earth and the cosmos, forming a bridge between heaven and stone. If this is true, then every pyramid, temple, and megalith around the world forms part of a global energy network, a grid designed to balance the planet, amplify consciousness, and preserve knowledge. What we call myths may be the fragments of a forgotten science of the soul. But why was it lost? If such a civilization once existed, what destroyed it? The flood myths that echo across cultures may hold the answer. Cataclysm. The earth tilted, the seas rose, and the skies fell. In a single generation, knowledge that took millennia to build was swallowed by the oceans. The survivors scattered, carrying what they could in memory and symbol. They built monuments to remember. The pyramids were not built to glorify kings, but to keep the light alive. The ancients warned that when humanity forgets its origins, it repeats its fall. The pyramids stand not just as a mystery, but as a mirror. They remind us of what we once were and what we could be again. Perhaps that is why they endure, not merely as relics, but as teachers. Each stone whispers a lesson, that the key to the future lies in remembering the past. And so, the question remains, were the pyramids built by aliens or by advanced humans who once walked the earth? Maybe the answer is both. Perhaps the gods of old were simply humans who mastered the divine laws of nature, becoming as gods to those who followed. Whatever the truth, it waits. Beneath the sand, in the stones, and in the silence of the Great Pyramid, where sound and light once danced in harmony. The ancients are gone, but their code remains, and decoding it may not only reveal our history, it may determine our destiny. In the next part, we journey beyond Egypt to the stars, where myths of gods and visitors from the sky converge with the evidence of cosmic contact. Stay with us. This is Unveil Archive, where ancient mysteries come to light. Long before modern telescopes turned toward the heavens, humanity already believed we were not alone. Across every continent, ancient cultures spoke of gods who came from the sky, radiant beings who descended in blazing chariots, teaching humanity the arts of civilization. These stories appear everywhere, in the clay tablets of Sumer, in the carvings of the Mayans, in the papyrus of Egypt. Different names, same pattern. And at the center of this pattern stands a single question. Who were they? In ancient Sumer, the earliest known civilization, they were called the Anunnaki, those who came from the heavens to the earth. The Sumerians described them not as spirits or abstractions, but as flesh and blood beings who ruled from the sky and granted knowledge to humankind. They taught agriculture, mathematics, and astronomy. They built temples aligned to the stars and demanded that humans imitate their works. Thousands of miles away, the Egyptians told similar tales. The gods descended upon the Nile in a time called Zep Tepi, the first time. From them came law, language, and architecture, the foundations of civilization itself. Why do these stories mirror each other so precisely? How did people separated by oceans and millennia imagine the same thing? Sky gods, advanced knowledge, and pyramids that reach for the heavens. When scholars first compared these myths, they dismissed them as coincidence. But coincidence loses meaning when it repeats with such precision. The same stories appear in South America, where the god Viracocha emerged from the sea, bearing light and wisdom. In India, the Vedas describe Vimanas, flying ships powered by sound and energy, their pilots known as the Devas. In China, the Yellow Emperor descended from a dragon of fire to teach humanity medicine and governance. In every tale, the pattern is the same: divine teachers descending from above, raising humanity from darkness. Modern science calls this collective myth, But what if it's collective memory? Look to the skies above Giza. The three pyramids are aligned not just to the cardinal directions, but to the constellation of Orion's belt. In ancient Egypt, Orion was associated with Osiris, the god of resurrection and eternal life. The Milky Way was believed to be the celestial Nile, and the pyramids, its reflection on Earth. This was no artistic coincidence. The ancients built a mirror of the heavens in stone. But why? To worship the gods, or to remember where they came from? Some researchers propose that the pyramids were landing markers, navigational beacons for celestial visitors. Their energy fields, amplified by geometry, could have created an electromagnetic signal visible beyond Earth. Others believe they were communication hubs, transmitting frequencies that resonate across dimensions. Sounds fantastical, yet even modern physicists acknowledge that energy and vibration can transcend space in ways we still don't fully understand. What's undeniable is that the ancients were obsessed with the stars. The Great Pyramid's shafts point directly to specific constellations: Orion, Sirius, and Draco. These stars form the mythic trinity of Osiris, Isis, and Horus, the cosmic family that ruled heaven and earth. In the ancient world, the sky was not just above. It was a map of origins. To look at the stars was to remember home. If advanced humans once existed, perhaps they too came from the stars. Not in spaceships, but as descendants of a civilization that spanned worlds. Or maybe, as some believe, visitors from other realms seeded life here long ago, returning periodically to guide their creation. One of the strangest clues lies within the pyramids themselves. Deep inside the Great Pyramid, the King's Chamber and Queen's Chamber align perfectly with Orion and Sirius. When viewed on the winter solstice, the light of Sirius, Egypt's brightest star, would have shone directly into the chamber through its narrow shaft. Some say this was symbolic, a pathway for the pharaoh's soul to ascend to the stars. Others suspect it was literal, a technology of light, a stargate built from stone. Consider this. Modern experiments show that pyramid shapes focus electromagnetic energy at their centers. This isn't myth, it's measurable physics. Russian researchers in the 1990s built fiberglass pyramids and found that water stored inside them resisted freezing, seeds germinated faster, and even radio signals amplified. If this is what small replicas can do, what about the originals? Massive stone structures built on the Earth's energy grid, aligned with the cosmos. Maybe the pyramids were not tombs or temples. Maybe they were energy conduits, devices designed to interact with both the earth and the sky. And maybe those who built them understood that energy is consciousness, and consciousness is the bridge between worlds. But the mystery doesn't end in Egypt. Across the ocean, in the jungles of Mexico, stands Teotihuacan, the city of the gods. Its layout mirrors the same geometry as Giza, its pyramids align to the same celestial points. The Pyramid of the Sun shares the exact base dimensions as the Great Pyramid within a margin of inches. There is no evidence of contact between the builders of Egypt and Mesoamerica, yet their monuments speak the same language of stone. What are the odds that two civilizations, separated by thousands of miles and years, would independently create structures of identical proportion, aligned to the same stars? The probability is nearly zero. Unless, of course, they shared the same teachers. Perhaps those teachers were not extraterrestrial in the way we imagine, but interdimensional, beings existing beyond the physical spectrum, able to move through time and energy. Ancient carvings show figures with wings, halos of light, and objects that resemble helmets or suits. To the people of the time, these were gods. To modern eyes, they look eerily technological. If the gods were visitors, why did they leave? Myths suggest they didn't. The Egyptians believed that when the gods withdrew to the heavens, they left behind the keepers, the priest kings who preserved their wisdom in secret chambers. The Hall of Records, said to lie beneath the Sphinx, is one such repository. It is said to contain knowledge of humanity's origins, the truth about the gods, and the key to unlocking the next stage of human evolution. If this hall truly exists, it could confirm that the so-called gods were not supernatural beings, but bearers of knowledge from elsewhere, perhaps from another world, perhaps from humanity's forgotten past. There is evidence that the ancients anticipated their return. In the pyramid texts, the oldest known religious writings, the pharaohs declare, "The stars descend and the gods return." The Mayans predicted the cycle of the sky gods, marking their calendar with the date of their reappearance. Even the Bible speaks of watchers and giants, the Nephilim, who came from above and mingled with humans. Were these texts prophecy or memory? Modern archaeology cannot answer. But one thing is clear. The builders of the pyramids knew the heavens intimately. They aligned their temples not to Earth's surface, but to celestial geometry. Every angle, every corridor, every stone was a reflection of the cosmos. They built in resonance with the universe itself. To them, the sky was not empty, it was alive. Perhaps that's the difference between their world and ours. We look at the stars and see distance. They looked and saw connection. They saw the universe as one vast organism, and the pyramids as its heartbeat on Earth. The question, were the pyramids built by aliens or advanced humans, might miss the point. The truth may lie in unity, that humanity and the cosmos are not separate, that the divine teachers were not others, but us in another form, another time, another dimension. The ancients did not fear the gods. They aspired to become them. Their monuments were not built in worship, but in remembrance. The Great Pyramid was not a plea to heaven, but a bridge, a reminder of what humanity once was and will be again. Today, as science peers deeper into the fabric of space, it begins to find what the ancients already knew. Quantum entanglement shows that everything in the universe is connected, no matter the distance. Particles communicate instantly across light years. Space is not emptiness. It's a field of energy. Consciousness may be the key to interacting with it. The same consciousness the ancients honored in their rituals, geometry, and sound. They built stone as a mirror of spirit. The gods they spoke of may have been the future looking back, the next evolution of humankind, guiding its own past. The evidence, scattered across deserts and mountains, whispers the same truth. The stars and the stones tell one story. That story is us. In the next chapter, we descend once more into the hidden chambers beneath the Sphinx, where myth, science, and prophecy converge. What lies beneath may prove that the gods never left at all. This is Unveil Archive, where ancient mysteries come to light. At the edge of the desert, where wind and silence meet, the Sphinx gazes eternally toward the rising sun. Its face, weathered and broken, has watched humanity for 10,000 years. Yet beneath that stoic expression, many believe, lies a secret so great it could rewrite everything we know about our past. They call it the Hall of Records. The legend of the Hall of Records is older than Egypt itself. It speaks of a chamber hidden beneath the Sphinx's paws, a vault containing the complete history of humankind before the Great Flood, not carved on papyrus or stone, but encoded in light, sound, and vibration. The ancient priests claimed it was sealed by the gods until the world was ready to know the truth. In 1926, when engineers first cleared the sands from around the Sphinx, they discovered strange fissures and cavities in the limestone bedrock. One tunnel seemed to descend deep beneath the monument, but it was quickly sealed. Decades later, in the 1970s, radar and seismic scans revealed symmetrical voids under the monument, chambers where no natural cavities should exist. The Egyptian authorities called them anomalies and stopped further investigation. Why? What could be so dangerous about an empty room? In 1993, geophysicist Thomas Dobecki and researcher John Anthony West conducted another survey. Their instruments detected hollow spaces under the Sphinx's right paw, exactly where the American psychic Edgar Cayce had predicted the Hall of Records would be found. The coincidence was impossible to ignore. When they requested excavation permits, they were denied. The findings were declared inconclusive, and the case was closed. But the mystery refused to stay buried. In 2017, muon tomography, the same technology used to discover hidden chambers inside the Great Pyramid, detected new voids beneath the Sphinx. Once again, the results were sealed. Some say the chamber has already been opened in secret. Whispers tell of artifacts removed in the night. Metallic objects covered in geometric patterns, glowing stones that react to magnetic fields, inscriptions not in hieroglyphs but in spirals and light. Whether these are truths or fantasies, one thing remains constant: the silence of those who guard the site. If such a chamber exists, what could it contain? Imagine a library older than history. Tablets that hum when touched, crystals that project images of forgotten lands, blueprints of energy systems that once powered entire cities. It may sound like science fiction, but consider what we already know. The Great Pyramid encodes mathematical constants known only to modern science. The Sphinx shows erosion patterns caused by rainfall thousands of years before Egypt's desert climate existed. Everything points to an origin long before the pharaohs, a lost epoch when humanity knew the laws of the universe and lived in harmony with them. What if the Hall of Records is not merely a library, but a warning? Perhaps it was built by survivors of a cataclysm, the flood that ended the last ice age 12,000 years ago. They foresaw another cycle of destruction, another fall into ignorance, and preserved their wisdom for the next dawn. The Sphinx, half man and half lion, symbolizes that duality, the fusion of instinct and intellect, beast and divine. It is the bridge between what we were and what we can become. When ancient texts say the Sphinx guards the threshold between worlds, perhaps they mean consciousness itself. The chambers below may not just hold physical artifacts, but energetic fields, frequencies that activate when humanity reaches a certain level of understanding. Modern physics is beginning to glimpse this truth. Matter is energy, and energy responds to awareness. The ancients encoded this in stone, geometry, and sound. Their monuments were not only physical structures, but resonant instruments tuned to the cosmos. To enter the Hall of Records might not require breaking stone, but opening perception. Imagine if we found proof inside that the gods were not aliens, but humans who had ascended through mastery of consciousness, beings who unlocked the next stage of evolution. Their technology, lost to us, would not rely on metal or fuel, but on resonance and intention. It would merge science and spirit, showing that both are reflections of one truth. But would we be ready for it? Knowledge is power, and power without wisdom destroys. Perhaps that is why the chamber remains sealed, not to keep us out, but to protect us from ourselves. The ancients may have understood that humanity must first learn humility before rediscovering creation. Today, the sands shift once more. Satellites scan the plateau, ground-penetrating radar hums, and new generations of seekers listen to the whispers beneath the stone. Each discovery edges us closer to an awakening. Whether we call them gods, aliens, or ancestors, their message is the same. Remember who you are. The pyramids, the Sphinx, the legends of Atlantis, all are fragments of a single story. A story of a civilization that rose, fell, and left a message for the next. We are that next civilization. The torch is in our hands. When we finally uncover the Hall of Records, it may not reveal new gods or strange machines. It may show us something far more profound. The truth that the divine was never above us, but within us all along. The ancients didn't worship the stars. They remembered that they came from them. And perhaps that is the true legacy of the pyramids. Not that they were built by aliens or advanced humans, but that they were built by us in another age, when we remembered our connection to the cosmos. The builders and the gods were one. As the sun sets behind the Giza plateau, the Sphinx's shadow stretches across the desert. The air hums with quiet energy, as if waiting for a signal that has yet to come. Maybe one day, when humanity is ready to use knowledge for creation instead of destruction, the chamber beneath will open. And, when it does, we will not find the past. We will find ourselves. Until then, the sands of Egypt keep their secret, and the Sphinx keeps its silence. But the truth cannot be buried forever. It waits, patient and eternal, just like the stone that guards it. This is Unveil Archive, where ancient mysteries come to light and the past reminds us of the future we were always meant to remember. As the sands of time continue to shift over the desert, one truth remains unchanged. The pyramids still stand, unbroken, untamed, and unanswered. Whether they were built by the hands of gods, by visitors from distant stars, or by a civilization far more advanced than we dare to imagine, their purpose remains the same: to remind us how little we truly know. Maybe the real mystery isn't who built them, but why we keep searching. If these stories awaken something inside you, that ancient curiosity, that spark of wonder, then join us on this journey. Because here, in Unveil Archive, every legend hides a clue, every ruin holds a secret, and every mystery is waiting to be unveiled. Subscribe now, and step with us beyond the veil of history.